Arsenal closes Ezri Konsa for £55 million, while Aston Villa stages a £300 million sell-off. Carlos Baleba sits a step away from Manchester United, and Inter lands Curtis Jones. A total breakdown for Alvarez at Atlético and Mourinho's admission regarding Rodri. This is Boot 24, bringing you the top stories of the hour. Just the facts. Let's jump right in. London Arsenal takes a decisive step to defend its Premier League champion title, closing a permanent deal with Aston Villa for the transfer of 28-year-old England national team defender Ezri Konsa. The guaranteed compensation sum for the central defender will amount to £51 million sterling, with performance add-ons pushing the final check past the £55 million threshold. The player has already officially bid farewell to his teammates at the Birmingham club and is flying out to London to undergo a medical examination prior to signing a long-term contract. The primary catalyst for this urgent reinforcement was a critical situation in the Gunners' defensive line. Mikel Arteta temporarily lost William Saliba to a back injury, while Julián Timber has not yet fully recovered due to groin issues. Konsa, who served as a primary defender for the England national team at the recent World Cup, perfectly covers Arteta's tactical demands. The Englishman possesses rare versatility, operating with equal quality at central defender and right fullback, granting Arsenal depth and solidity over a grueling marathon season. For Aston Villa itself, the departure of Konsa, who gave 7 years to the club and played nearly 300 matches, marks another major chapter in the summer sell-off of its core squad. But more on that in the next section. So, Aston Villa staged a massive financial and sporting experiment in the transfer market, which already lays claim to being this summer's premier textbook case in club management. This is no mere patch-up job on squad gaps for European competitions, but a total reboot of Unai Emery's project. Management at the Birmingham side decided to play preemptively, locking in maximum profits at the peak valuation of its prime assets, not only to satisfy strict financial fair play boundaries completely, but also to lay the foundation for an entirely new, significantly younger team. Villa's sales revenue has already crossed the €300 million mark, transforming Birmingham into the summer's primary seller. The foundational block of this financial pyramid became the sale of Morgan Rogers to Chelsea for an abnormal €138 million, the most expensive transfer in club history. In parallel, the Birmingham side dismantled its midfield without hesitation, releasing Yuri Tielemans to Manchester United for €41 million and selling forward Daniel Malen to Roma for €25 million. The financial picture was neatly completed by deals for young talents. Enzo Barrenechea and Lewis Dobbin were sold for a combined total of nearly €23 million. The final defensive piece in this clearance became Ezri Konsa's sale to London Arsenal, which we detailed earlier. Villa's response was instant and tactically calculated. The gap on the right flank was covered by Aaron Wan-Bissaka from West Ham. Here, the Birmingham side again demonstrated accounting flexibility, arranging a loan with a mandatory purchase requirement in the summer of 2027 for 18 to 21 million euros, pushing the primary check into the next reporting period. Furthermore, the left flank of defense was already secured by Matteo Ruggeri, bought out from Atletico Madrid for €25.5 million. To replace the sold core, Emery is constructing a far more explosive roster. The role of the new creative hub replacing Rogers was handed to 20-year-old Swiss prodigy Johan Manzambi, purchased from Freiburg for €60 million. Central midfield was shored up by Wolverhampton engine João Gomes for €40 million. The goalkeeping spot was reinforced by Zion Suzuki from Parma for €35 million, while Alejandro Garnacho was brought in on loan with a mandatory purchase option from Chelsea for the attacking flank. Yet Emery saved his grandmaster move for last, the saga surrounding 30-year-old Ollie Watkins. Upon receiving a first proposal of €45 million from Al Hilal, Villa demonstratively rejected it, setting a price tag of €65 to €75 million. And this is not about greed. Behind these figures sits mathematically precise calculation. The Birmingham side requires precisely 75 million euros from the Saudis to immediately redirect those funds to London Chelsea to buy out 25-year-old Nicholas Jackson. Because Villa's domestic loan limit is completely exhausted following the Garnacho deal, the club is conducting a clean asset swap at net zero, trading a 30-year-old forward for a 25-year-old favorite of Emery with zero FFP burden. If Al Hilal raises its bid, Aston Villa will close one of the most massive reboots in modern Premier League history. Diego Simeone officially excluded the 26-year-old Argentine forward from Atletico's squad for the opening match of La Liga, stating that he is mentally unready to play.
We believe Julián Álvarez is not in a condition to play or participate in tomorrow's match. We hope that over the next few days, he makes progress and approaches the necessary condition. If the club owner spoke so categorically, then there is nothing left to add. It's like in court, there is no room left for doubt. We care about both the person and the player.
Alvarez's psychological breakdown stemmed from a complete transfer dead end. Management at the mattress makers placed a strict veto on Julián's move to Barcelona, flatly refusing to reinforce a direct competitor in Spain while blocking the Catalans' bids in the 100 to 120 million euro range. The Madrid side stands ready to sell the player abroad, yet the striker himself blocks all alternative options. Alvarez issued a direct rejection to Mikel Arteta and London Arsenal, as his sole objective remains Barcelona. Atletico president Enrique Cerezo publicly set the record straight regarding the club's stance and the situation with the forward.
Barcelona was told clearly from the start that we want to keep Julián. I don't know if Alvarez will apologize, but I am convinced he will win back the fans' affection in 2 games flat.
Meanwhile, in Catalonia, hands have already been thrown up. Insiders confirm that Barcelona considers this transfer virtually impossible, and on instructions from Deco and Joan Laporta, urgently pivoted to finding a plan B for central striker. Ultimately, blocked from all sides, Alvarez remains at Atletico without match practice and with ruined relations with management. Just look at the evolution of Julián Álvarez's facial expressions over the last 3 years during official kit unveilings at Atletico. A genuine, open smile in the first 2 years. But in the photograph for the new 2026 to 2027 season, a man stares back at us with a haunted, stone-cold glare, devoid of a single drop of desire to be at this club. Why forcibly keep a footballer in the squad with such an expression on his face? Manchester United is entering the final stretch in a lengthy transfer saga, submitting an official proposal to Brighton for 22-year-old Cameroonian midfielder Carlos Baleba. A guaranteed check of £60 million sterling plus an additional £5 million in performance add-ons yields a package of £65 million. And although management at the Seagulls currently values the player slightly higher, negotiations are proceeding in a constructive atmosphere, with the Manchester side preparing an improved offer to close the deal within the £70 to £75 million range in the coming days. This move comes as the result of 3 years of systematic scouting work by United. The Manchester side tracked Baleba since his days playing for Lille in 2023, but faced resistance in the summer of 2025 when Brighton chairman Tony Bloom set a price tag exceeding £100 million sterling. Back then, MU stepped back, yet the player systematically pressed the Seagulls management all year, demanding a transfer to Old Trafford. Ultimately, Baleba's year-long pressure yielded results. The final figure dropped to more comfortable territory, while the midfielder himself fully agreed terms on a long-term contract with United and awaits the final green light to fly out for a medical. After Ederson's transfer from Atalanta collapsed due to knee issues during medical tests, Baleba is set to become the 3rd midfielder United purchases this summer, following completed deals for Yuri Tielemans for £35 million and Andre Santos for £48 million. Italian Inter is closing another high-profile transfer deal of the summer, reaching a verbal compromise in principle with Liverpool regarding the transfer of 25-year-old midfielder Curtis Jones. The final financial package for the transfer will stand at €35 million, including all add-ons. For the Nerazzurri, signing Jones marks the end of a multi-month chase. The Italians attempted to loan the Englishman back in winter before entering full negotiations in the summer. Liverpool initially maintained a threshold of €40 million, but considering that the Merseysider's academy graduate had only his final year remaining on his contract and sought a stable starting spot, Red bosses agreed to €35 million. From an FFP perspective, selling an academy passport holder guarantees Liverpool a pure accounting profit, while Jones has already agreed personal terms with Inter and will fly out to Milan in the coming days for his medical. Newcastle United is preparing a major double reinforcement to its squad, attempting to urgently cover problem positions before the season kickoff. Newcastle head coach Matthias Gisel found himself in a difficult situation after the club lost its primary central midfield duo. Bruno Guimaraes moved to Arsenal, while Sandro Tonali departed for Tottenham. The first priority to patch the hole in midfield became 24-year-old Manchester City midfielder Nico González. The clubs have already opened direct negotiations regarding a potential transfer. González joined the Citizens' camp from Porto for £50 million in January 2025, but lost his starting spot after the new year. Enzo Maresca is open to selling the Spaniard to free up funds for a total midfield reset. Manchester City is directing a portion of its sales capital toward a fully agreed transfer for 18-year-old Lille star Ayoub Bouadi, alongside a new bid for Enzo Fernandez from Chelsea exceeding £100 million. In parallel, Newcastle emerges as favourite in the race for 28-year-old French forward Christopher Nkunku. New Milan manager Ruben Amorim is conducting a squad cleanup and does not see the forward in his plans after a pale season featuring 8 goals. The Italians stand ready to release the Frenchman for roughly £25 million to recoup the funds spent a year ago. Although German RB Leipzig previously submitted a loan proposal for its former goal scorer, Nkunku himself views a return to the Premier League as his primary priority. Beyond Newcastle, Aston Villa is watching the situation, yet Newcastle remains the primary candidate due to its readiness to complete a permanent buyout. The summer's transfer explosion has officially occurred. Ballon d'Or winner and World Cup best player Rodri departs Manchester City to join Catalan Barcelona for €76.5 million. This move caused a genuine rift among Citizens fans. Some view the Spaniard as an untouchable legend who delivered the club's first Champions League trophy and treble in history, while others accuse the midfielder of betrayal, as after 18 months battling a severe knee injury, the club counted on his loyalty. Rodri himself candidly explained his choice through sporting factors and a desire to trade the Premier League's grueling pace for Spain's more tactical football.
All decisions in my career were dictated purely by sporting factors, and this decision is no exception. Hansi Flick's style appeals to me greatly. I think under his leadership I will be able to progress even further.
However, the most intriguing behind-the-scenes detail of this transaction was how Barcelona managed to snatch the 30-year-old holding midfielder from under Real Madrid's nose. Real Madrid head coach Jose Mourinho spoke candidly about why the transfer to Madrid collapsed.
I personally spoke with Rodri several times. Real Madrid made him an important offer, but then Rodri had doubts. His hesitations caused doubts in me as well regarding the wisdom of this signing.
Rodri's doubts cost Madrid the best midfielder of modern times, while Barcelona took advantage of a rival's hesitation to close the deal of the century. Rodri returns to Spain as the engine of a new Blaugrana era, leaving behind a magnificent yet complex legacy in Manchester. Albanian club Dinamo City from Tirana staged a media show following a confident 4-0 victory over Latvian side Auda, which propelled the team into the Conference League qualification playoffs. Video from the dressing room turned into a viral trend thanks to a performance by club president Ardian Bardi. The flamboyant boss seized all attention when he burst in on the celebrating squad, shouting with a black bag in his hands. As soon as Bardi unzipped the bag, a massive stack of cash tumbled out, with one bundle falling straight onto the floor. Without second thought, the president tossed the entire financial contents onto the floor to the players, triggering an explosion of emotions and chaos in the dressing room. The financial incentive did not stop there. Ardian Barty publicly promised the team a lucrative €500,000 bonus if Dinamo City penetrates the Conference League main stage. To capture the $500,000 jackpot, the Albanians need to overcome one final barrier, Cypriot side Paphos,